Building muscle faster doesn't come from random workouts. It comes from understanding why muscles grow. Muscles grow primarily because of a process called hypertrophy, which is the enlargement of muscle fibers through repeated training stress. This happens when you train hard enough to challenge your muscles, recover properly, and repeat that cycle consistently. The key drivers are mechanical tension, muscle damage, and metabolic stress. But the real star is tension. When your muscles are exposed to progressively heavier loads over time, the body adapts by growing larger fibers to handle that tension. So, lifting with proper technique, gradually increasing weights, and staying close to failure without burning out is the foundation of hypertrophy science. Don't chase soreness. Chase consistent quality overload. When it comes to building muscle faster, most people start by asking, what's the best workout? Or what's the best supplement? But the truth is, the secret to faster muscle growth isn't a special exercise or a pill, it's understanding what actually makes your muscles grow in the first place. Once you get that, everything else starts to make sense. So let's dig into the real science of hypertrophy and how it works in your favor. Muscle growth happens when your body is forced to adapt to a stress it's not used to. That stress comes from resistance training, lifting weights that challenge your muscles beyond their current capacity. When you lift, you create tension inside your muscle fibers. This tension disrupts their homeostasis, which is just a fancy word for balance. Your body doesn't like being out of balance, so it responds by repairing and reinforcing those muscle fibers, making them a little bit bigger and stronger. That's hypertrophy. It's not magic, it's biology. Now, not all training stress is created equal. There are three main drivers of hypertrophy: mechanical tension, muscle damage, and metabolic stress. Mechanical tension is the most important of the three. It's the force your muscles produce when they contract under heavy load. Think of it as the main signal that tells your body, hey, these muscles need to be stronger. If you're lifting weights that challenge you close to your limit, somewhere near failure, that tension stimulates the body to start adapting. Over time, if you keep increasing the challenge, you keep giving your body reasons to grow. Muscle damage, on the other hand, is the microscopic tearing of fibers that happens when you train, especially during the lowering phase of a lift. The eccentric part. It used to be thought that the more damage you cause, the more growth you get. But that's not exactly true. Too much damage actually slows recovery and limits how often you can train effectively. You want just enough disruption to send a signal for adaptation. Not so much that you can't train again for a week. So if you're crawling out of the gym every leg day and can't walk for 5 days, that's not a sign of progress. That's a sign you overdid it. Then there's metabolic stress, that burning sensation and muscle pump you feel during high-rep sets. It's often called the burn or the pump. This stress builds up byproducts like lactate in your muscles, which also signal growth, but it's a secondary mechanism. It helps, but only when combined with mechanical tension. So if your workout is only chasing the pump with light weights and zero progressive overload, you might feel like you're working hard, but you're not giving your body the strongest reason to grow. The pump is a tool, not the foundation. So, what really drives muscle growth faster? It's progressive overload. That's the process of gradually increasing the demand placed on your muscles over time. You can overload by adding weight, increasing reps, improving your form, or controlling the tempo of your lifts. The key is to make sure you're doing more quality work over the weeks and months, but it has to be progressive. You can't just jump from 50 to 100 kg overnight. You build it step by step. Think of it like telling your body, hey, last week I needed this much strength to survive. Now I need a bit more. The body listens, adapts, and grows stronger. However, the science of hypertrophy isn't just about lifting heavy. It's about lifting smart. Your goal should be to apply enough tension for long enough that your muscles are forced to adapt, but not so much that your recovery can't keep up. That's where most people mess up. They either train too light and never challenge themselves enough, or they go too hard and burn out. The sweet spot is training close to failure, within 1 to 3 reps of your absolute limit, because that's where the highest quality tension happens. Going beyond that point, every set doesn't build more muscle. It just adds fatigue. Another key point is understanding that hypertrophy is a slow biological process. Even when done right, It's tempting to think that if you double your effort, you'll double your gains. But the human body doesn't work that way. Muscles need time to recover and grow. Training too frequently or too intensely can interrupt that process. That's why patience and consistency are everything. Every set you do with good form and sufficient effort is a small deposit into your muscle growth bank account. Over time, those deposits compound into visible size and strength. Form and control matter a lot too. Many lifters rush their reps or use momentum to move weight, which reduces the tension on the target muscle. The body doesn't care how much weight you swing, it cares how much force the muscle fibers produce. Slowing down the eccentric phase, the lowering part of the lift, controlling the movement and maintaining tension throughout the range of motion are all signs of good hypertrophy training. You're not trying to show off in the gym, you're trying to make your muscles work as hard as possible within their safe limits. And let's be real, this process can feel repetitive, even boring. But that's where discipline comes in. The science doesn't care about motivation. It rewards consistency. The people who grow the fastest aren't the ones doing random programs every week. They're the ones who understand the fundamentals and apply them relentlessly. Week after week, they focus on progressive overload, good form, recovery, and patience. The takeaway is simple. Faster muscle growth doesn't come from shortcuts, fancy machines, or miracle routines. It comes from respecting the science of hypertrophy. You apply tension, recover, and repeat over and over again. You learn your limits, stay consistent, and push a little further each time. That's how you make your muscles grow faster, by understanding the process, trusting it, and giving it time to work. When it comes to building muscle efficiently, most lifters focus on lifting heavier and harder. But the real game changer is training smart. You can't just walk into the gym, throw some weights around, and expect consistent growth. Muscle hypertrophy follows patterns, and those patterns are based on how much volume you do, how intense your training is, and how often you train a given muscle. If you understand and apply those three variables correctly, volume, intensity, and frequency, you're already ahead of 90% of people in the gym. The best part? You'll grow faster, recover better, and stay injury-free while doing it. Let's start with volume, which is the total amount of hard work your muscles perform in a given week. You can think of it as the total number of effective sets per muscle group. Science shows that most people grow best when doing somewhere around 10 to 20 hard sets per muscle group each week. That's the sweet spot. Less than 10, and you might not be stimulating enough growth. More than 20, and you're probably cutting into your recovery. But here's the catch. The exact number depends on you, your genetics, recovery ability, experience level, and nutrition. Beginners might grow well with 8 to 10 sets per week, while advanced lifters might need closer to 20. The goal is to find that sweet zone where your muscles get enough stimulus to grow, but you can still recover and come back stronger for the next session. Now, volume means nothing if the quality of those sets is poor. Every working set should be hard enough to count. A hard set is one taken close to failure within 1 to 3 reps of your true limit. If you're stopping your sets with 5 or more reps left in the tank, you're not creating enough tension for meaningful hypertrophy. On the other hand, if you go to absolute failure on every single set, you're just beating your recovery system into the ground. That's where intensity comes in. The second major factor. Intensity isn't about how motivated you feel. It's about how close you are to muscular failure. The goal in hypertrophy training isn't to see how much you can lift one time. It's to get the muscle to work as hard as possible through a controlled, repeatable effort. That's why you often hear the phrase, stimulate, don't annihilate. You want enough intensity to make your muscles adapt, but not so much that your body can't repair itself. Most sets should land around that 1 to 3 reps in reserve range, which means if you pushed a bit harder, you could probably do 1 or 2 more reps. But you stop just before reaching that limit. This approach keeps intensity high without pushing you into fatigue overload. Another huge mistake people make is confusing ego lifting with effective training. Loading up more weight than you can handle just to look strong might impress a few people for a moment, but it doesn't impress your muscles. Your muscles only respond to the tension they feel, not the number written on the side of the dumbbell. When you train with proper intensity, good form, and control, you make sure every rep counts. You can't rush through reps and expect growth. The muscle needs time under tension. A slightly lighter weight lifted with full range of motion and control will almost always beat a heavier weight lifted sloppily. Now, once you've nailed your volume and intensity, the third piece of the puzzle is frequency. How often you train each muscle group. Many people make the mistake of hitting each muscle only once per week with tons of volume in that one session. They'll do 25 sets of chest on Monday and then nothing for the next 7 days. That's not optimal. Muscles recover faster than that, and by the time you hit them again, they've already lost the growth signal. A better approach is to train each muscle 2 to 3 times per week, splitting up the total weekly volume. For example, instead of doing 20 sets for chest all in one workout, you can do 10 sets twice a week. This keeps the growth signal active more often, allows for better quality in each set, and reduces fatigue per session. Training frequency also helps with skill development. Each lift is a skill, and the more often you practice it, the better your technique and muscle connection become. You don't just get stronger physically, you get more efficient neurologically. That's why spreading your work across the week allows you to make faster progress in both size and strength. Another important concept is progression over time. None of these variables matter if you're not progressing. If you've been lifting the same weight for the same number of sets and reps for months, your muscles have no reason to grow. They've already adapted. Progression doesn't always mean adding more weight, though that's the most obvious way. It can also mean doing an extra rep with the same weight, improving your form, or reducing rest time slightly while maintaining performance. Small improvements each week add up to huge results over months and years. But here's where the science meets reality. You can't keep increasing volume or intensity forever. The body has limits, and more is not always better. There's a point where adding more sets or pushing harder stops producing growth and starts eating into recovery. That's why smart training includes planned deloads, periods where you intentionally reduce training stress to allow full recovery before ramping back up. Think of it like taking a pit stop in a race. You slow down temporarily to go faster in the long run. Fatigue management is a crucial but overlooked part of hypertrophy. Your body can only adapt to what it can recover from. If you constantly push your training to the edge, your performance will drop, your joints will ache, and you'll eventually stall. So the smartest lifters are the ones who know when to back off slightly and let their bodies catch up. Remember, recovery doesn't mean weakness. It's part of the process of getting stronger. To put it all together, training smart isn't about finding the hardest possible workout. It's about finding the right balance between stress and recovery. You want enough volume to grow, enough intensity to challenge, and enough frequency to keep the stimulus consistent. Then you manage fatigue so you can repeat that process again and again. It's like tuning an engine too little fuel and it sputters too much and it floods. The perfect mix keeps it running smoothly and powerfully. So, if your goal is to build muscle faster, stop thinking about what looks hardcore and start thinking about what's effective. Plan your training, track your progress, and make small adjustments over time. Stay consistent, train close to failure, recover well, and keep showing up. That's how smart training builds fast, sustainable muscle growth, the kind that doesn't just look good, but lasts. When it comes to building muscle faster, most people obsess over what happens inside the gym, how many sets, how many reps, what exercises to do. But here's the truth that a lot of people don't want to hear. You don't grow in the gym. You grow when you eat, sleep, and recover. Training is just the spark that lights the fire. What fuels that fire is proper nutrition, quality rest, and smart recovery strategies. Without those, all the training science in the world won't help you grow. Hypertrophy is a biological process that depends just as much on recovery as it does on training. If you miss that, you're leaving most of your potential on the table. The first thing to understand is that muscle growth requires energy, and that energy comes from food. Your body can't build new muscle tissue out of thin air. It needs raw materials. So if you're training hard but eating in a calorie deficit, you're fighting an uphill battle. You might get a bit stronger, but you won't grow efficiently. To build muscle faster, you need to eat in a caloric surplus, which means consuming slightly more calories than you burn. This doesn't mean eating like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, but it does mean giving your body enough fuel to recover and build. A moderate surplus of around 200-300 calories per day is usually enough for most people to grow steadily without adding unnecessary fat. Now, within that calorie intake, protein is the real building block of muscle. After training, your muscles are damaged on a microscopic level. Protein supplies the amino acids needed to repair and reinforce those fibers, making them thicker and stronger. Aim for around 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Spread that protein evenly across your meals. Ideally 3 to 5 meals a day because your body can only use so much protein at once for muscle building. You don't need to eat every 2 hours like a bodybuilder from the 80s, but you do need consistent intake throughout the day. Good sources are lean meats, eggs, fish, dairy, and for those on a plant-based diet, tofu, legumes, and protein powders can fill in the gaps. Carbohydrates are another essential part of the equation. They fuel your workouts and replenish glycogen stores in your muscles afterward. When you train hard, especially with high volume, you burn through glycogen. If you don't replace it, your performance in the next session drops, and that slows your progress. Eating carbs after your workouts helps restore those stores and reduces muscle breakdown. Think of carbs as the fuel that keeps the training machine running efficiently. The amount you need depends on your training intensity and volume, but a good starting point is 3 to 6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for most lifters. Fat is often misunderstood. While it doesn't directly fuel your workouts, it's crucial for hormone production, especially hormones like testosterone and growth hormone that play a major role in muscle growth and recovery. Around 20–30% of your total calories from fat is a good range for most people. Sources like olive oil, nuts, seeds, avocados, and fatty fish are great choices. Beyond macronutrients, hydration is another area that gets overlooked. Muscles are about 70% water, and even mild dehydration can reduce strength and endurance. Staying hydrated keeps your joints healthy, improves training performance, and helps with recovery. A simple rule: if you're training hard and sweating, drink enough water throughout the day so your urine is light in color. It's not complicated, but it's crucial. Now let's talk about recovery, because that's where the real magic happens. When you lift weights, you're not building muscle, you're breaking it down. The recovery phase is when your body repairs that tissue and makes it stronger. That's why sleep is one of the most powerful muscle-building tools you have. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, repairs tissue, and restores energy. If you're only sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night, you're handicapping your progress, no matter how good your workouts are. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. That's not a luxury, it's a requirement for optimal muscle growth. Consistency in your sleep routine matters too. Going to bed and waking up at the same time helps your body regulate hormones more efficiently. Avoid screens, heavy meals, or caffeine close to bedtime, and keep your room dark and cool. These small habits make a massive difference in recovery quality over time. Recovery also includes rest days and deloads. Many people believe more training means faster growth, but that's not how the body works. You can't stimulate muscle growth if your body never has the chance to repair. Rest days aren't for the lazy. They're part of the plan. Active recovery, like light cardio, stretching, or mobility work, can help blood flow to the muscles and promote faster healing without adding extra fatigue. Managing stress is another underrated factor. When your stress levels are constantly high, your body produces more cortisol, a hormone that breaks down muscle tissue and slows recovery. Things like meditation, time outdoors, or even simple breathing exercises can help keep cortisol in check and recovery on track. Your mental state plays a huge role in how well your body performs and adapts physically. Supplements can support recovery, but they're not magic. Think of them as small tools, not foundations. A good whey protein powder helps you meet daily protein goals. Creatine monohydrate supports strength and muscle gain. Omega-3s can reduce inflammation, and a basic multivitamin covers small nutritional gaps. But none of these matter if your diet and sleep aren't solid. No pill can replace consistent training, proper nutrition, and adequate rest. So when we talk about building muscle faster, it's really about creating an environment where growth can happen. You train hard to stimulate your muscles, you eat to supply the materials, and you rest to let the process unfold. It's not about doing more. It's about doing things right. People often say they're not growing, but the issue usually isn't the workout plan. It's that they're under-recovering or under-eating. If you want to maximize your hypertrophy potential, think of recovery as your secret weapon. Respect it as much as your training. Every night of quality sleep, every balanced meal, and every rest day you take is part of the process. When all those pieces work together, training, nutrition, and recovery, you create the perfect environment for faster, sustainable muscle growth. That's the science in action. And that's how real progress is made, one rep, one meal, and one good night's sleep at a time.